Today's reading comes from the Galatians, chapter 6, verses 1 through 10, and it comes from the New Revised Standard Version, the updated edition. So open your hearts and your ears and hear these words. The Apostle Paul says, "My brothers and sisters, if anyone is detected in a transgression, you who have received the Spirit should restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. Take care that you yourselves are not tempted. Bear one another's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. For if those who are nothing think they are something, they deceive themselves. All must test their own work when that work rather than their neighbor's work will become a cause for pride. For all must carry their own loads. Those who are taught the word must share in all good things with their teacher. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for you reap whatever you sow. If you sow to your own flesh, you will reap corruption from the flesh. But if you sow to the Spirit, you will reap eternal life from the Spirit. So let us not grow weary in doing what is right, for we will reap at harvest time if we do not give up. So then, whenever we have an opportunity, let us work for the good of all, and especially for those of the family of faith." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God.
A couple weeks ago, we had a yard sale here at Country Club. The underlying reason for that yard sale was to help clean some things up around the church. They're just, over time, if you're not aware of this, churches tend to collect things. And so this was an opportunity for us to share some of those wonderful treasures with our community. Things moved about from various nooks and crannies and rooms and hidey holes so that we could spruce up the place a bit, making room for some new and emerging ministries and expanding and extending some of the ministries that we have been championing and celebrating here at Country Club. One of the pieces that I helped move this past week following the sale, because some things have been cleared out, we were able to move some things from one place to another place, was a filing cabinet. It's one of these four-drawer, stacked things. Fire ready. Which meant that it was not just a regular filing cabinet, but it was an industrial filing cabinet. It was one of these massive things that I think we built the church around. I say that because when I went to try to get a dolly under it, I was not able to push it enough to get just the little wedge of the dolly under. It was that heavy. I just couldn't even rock it, move it at all. I needed to bring in some reinforcements. I got some help. And it's not quite where it needs to be yet, but it did move across the room a bit. I want you to think about the last time you tried to move a piece of furniture by yourself. Maybe it was not a fire-rated filing cabinet, but maybe it was a couch, maybe it was a dresser, an end table. You could drag it, you could strain and maybe inch it across the room, or you could get some help. Another person shows up, says, "Hey, I've got this end, you get that end," and suddenly the impossible is possible. Unless you're Ross from Friends. Do you know? Pivot! Pivot! Some weights were never meant to be for one set of hands. That's what I'm trying to say. This series has asked us what we carry. So far, we've considered anxiety and shame, and today, I want us to look within, but also beyond ourselves, that we carry each other, not as heroes or as projects, but as people. It's the message that we've just heard from the letter to the Galatians. For context, remember that these letters don't just pop up out of nowhere. They're written to a specific people at a specific time. But what has given them lasting power is that many of us resonate and can understand whatever situation they found themselves in. The pastoral letter is written to a time and place, but we believe that it could have application beyond that specific time and place, and maybe it might say something to us. Full disclosure, many commentators, my seminary professor among them, suggested that the Galatians rejected Paul's advice here. It is a hard lesson. It's a hard thing to bear one another's burdens. But maybe we'll have a different response. Maybe we'll have a different outcome. There is a rhythm here that I think we could learn from if we choose to, that there is a balance here between compassion and responsibility, mutual care and personal ownership. In this letter, I believe we get some of that flavor that we lift up here where we talk about not being saved from one another, but being saved for and with each other. Bearing one another's burdens in particular sticks out to me. As the rest of the verse shares, by doing so, we fulfill the law of Jesus. And what's the law of Jesus? Love God, love your neighbor, right? That's it. Bearing one another's burdens. Now, just saying that might be a good quote for a coffee mug or a bumper sticker or maybe one of those t-shirts. But in practice, it's hard. In practice, it's costly. It costs time. We have to be interruptible. Our calendars have to have some space. But oftentimes, we're invited into unglamorous errands to help one another. It costs emotional energy, sitting in rooms where there are oftentimes more tears than answers. It costs control, letting people help us and not just letting us help them. Many of us here are really great at helping other people, less so when we're the ones in need. It's costly. But community is a sacred gift. Sacred, but not cheap. The truth is, love is going to stretch you. There were some folks, I think, in this very congregation that marched in political rallies just yesterday. Was that yesterday? Right? It's costly. It'll stretch you. Love will stretch you. And because I know the people who participated in those rallies from this congregation did not do so to be jerks. They did so as an act of love. Guaranteed. 100%. But here's another truth, talking about how love will stretch you. Here's another truth. Shared joy is double joy. Shared sorrow is half sorrow. What we carry can be made lighter. It's heavy, it's difficult, it's costly, but it can be made easier when we carry it with each other. That's how God multiplies grace through us. So again, let's dig into the passage a little bit. Verse 1 here says, if anyone is detected in a transgression. Let me just stop there for a second. We are really good about naming how people have messed up, right? We get this part. We've got this down. Yeah? It's not if anyone is detected. Our radar is always going on, looking for the person who stumbles and falls. If anybody's detected, here's what you're supposed to do. You who have received the Spirit should restore such a one in a spirit of gentleness. We've come back to this word gentle a few times now, and I hope you're hearing it. We are not meant to beat each other up. No matter how right you are wrong if you beat somebody up. Can you hear me in this? If somebody stumbles or fall, Paul says here that we are supposed to do that in a spirit of gentleness, taking care that you yourselves are not tempted. Tempted to do what? Tempted to be a jerk. Which is my theological way of saying that we distance ourselves from God and others. We call that sin, right? That's separation. Don't be tempted, Paul says, to fall into brokenness, disrepair, instead with a spirit of gentleness. Here's where he's going. Healing, if you think about this as a sin being a disease, healing, restoration, is not meant to be a spectacle. It's a surgery. Gentleness is not passivity. It's strength with a soft touch, a focus. And humility, this posture of believing that we don't have it all figured out and we're not perfect, is a surgical mask we wear, remembering that we are also meant to be vulnerable as we help others heal. But there's boundaries, right? So when we see someone stumble, we want to ask first, how can I help? How can I be a safe place or safe person for that person? And then we're going to ask, what would restoration, what would healing look like? Not rescue, not rumor. This is what social media is so horrible about, right? Restoration is not rescue, it's not rumor, it's not ratcheting up the rhetoric. What would restoration look like? That's what we want to ask. When you see somebody stumble, when you see somebody fall, when you see somebody struggling, how can we enter into their story and be a safe place to offer this gentle healing? That's where Paul starts. The next couple of verses, actually there's kind of a skip here, but verses 2 and 5 are connected, and I want you to hold those together. Paul uses two words. He uses the word burdens and loads. Burdens in verse 2, we might think of this as the crushing weight that no one could carry alone, or that we're not meant to carry alone. Grief, we'll talk about next week. Crisis, poverty, relapse, just being exhausted caring for other folks. We're not meant to carry that on our own. That's a burden. Compare that to a load, which he mentions in verse 5. Perhaps this is just the normal pack of daily responsibility we carry. It's work, it's bills, it's chores, it's commitments. It's just being alive, right? There's things that we're going to carry that are our responsibility to carry. Healthy community, then, the kind of community we hope to be, helps with burdens, help each other carry the burdens, and encourages each person to carry their load, to be responsible for what they are meant to be responsible for. Yes? It's not a loophole to avoid helping. Instead, it's a wisdom that helps us set up healthy boundaries. It helps us to help and not to harm. This is particularly important for us when we think about serving other folks. One of the books Stephanie and I have learned quite a bit from, at least I've learned quite a bit from, I think she would say that too, When Helping Hurts. But how oftentimes when we want to help other folks, we just rush in and we bring resources and we do things for them and we never ask, what do they want? What could they do on their own? Community-based development asks the question, what assets already exist in the community? We don't bring all the assets, right? It already exists. Think about us as a church. Some of you will think, well, we can't do all the stuff big churches do. That's true. We're not meant to do all the stuff big churches do. We're meant to do the stuff we are called to do. All that we need to do is right here. Can you hear me in this, friends? All the gifts, all the talents, all the abilities, all the resources we need to do the work that God has called us to do already exist in this place. It's us. We already have it. The question is, will you share what you have? Right? That's the question. That's the real struggle. So, healthy community helps with the burdens and encourages others to carry their load, naming those healthy boundaries. What's ours to carry? What's theirs to carry? What's mine to do? What is yours to do? You see, saying yes to bearing burdens does not mean saying yes to every request. Had a family show up here a couple weeks ago. They wanted me to pay for a new transmission in their car. Am I a jerk for saying, sorry, we just don't do that? Yes, Sean, you're a jerk. I think it's a healthy boundary for us to say there are certain things we're going to help you with, and there are certain things we're going to say that's your responsibility. Right? It's healthy. It allows us to love sustainably over time. Right? We're not good to anybody if we spill all our candy in the lobby and say, oh, there you go, that's all we got. Right? Love has limits that keeps love sustainable. The tension here is, again, between compassion and responsibility. And it's just some discernment there. We got to figure that out. In having that conversation, I discerned in that moment that we were not going to help with a new transmission. I was personally not going to help with a new transmission. Right? Some discernment is somebody else might have answered that differently. If you keep reading in this letter, we come to verse 7. If you look at 7 and 8, Paul shifts metaphors here. Here he starts talking kind of that agricultural piece that dominates a lot of our scriptures. He says that every act plants a seed, sowing to the Spirit. Little daily acts of faith, honesty, generosity, prayer will grow into life. Sowing to the flesh, he says, which we understand is self-protection, cynicism, apathy, poisons the soil. Here's the thing. We're going to sow seeds. It's not will we sow seeds, we will sow seeds. The question is, what seeds will we sow? Because as we read here, you're going to reap what you sow. Life or death. Poison. You see, here's the thing, friends. Communities don't become caring by accident. We plant the future we hope to harvest. We plant the future. When I talk about becoming an oasis, what I'm describing is an overtime process of nurture and support and encouragement and love. It's planted and it grows, or it's watered and it grows bigger, being and becoming a people that others find rest and shelter and peace with. That's what I mean when I say oasis. It is connected to a place, but it's more than a place. It's us. Can you be an oasis in the world? I would invite you to ask, what seeds are you planting in your conversations, in your texts, in your emails, with your schedules? What kind of seeds are you sowing in your day-to-day life? You've heard me say it. I just feel like I got to underline it every week. Our faith, our spiritual development, our response to God's grace is not limited to an hour or so on a Sunday. It is a life we are invited into. It is a kingdom that we are ushering in and responding to and participating in, yes? And it's not just about this time and place. It's us, wherever we go. Or at least it can be. Finally, notice how the passage ends, because we need to be really honest here. This is what we've said from the beginning. This is honest talk about this hard stuff. Paul says, don't grow weary in doing what is right. Why do you have to say that? Because you can grow weary doing what is right. Don't give up, for you will reap at harvest time if you don't give up. Compassion fatigue is real. Part of the struggle of being a modern human with all of the information that we are bombarded with every single day is that it feels to me that there is a crisis, there is an emergency, there is a need everywhere. Right? Do you feel the burden of that? It's just a constant pressure. Every part of the world cries out for help. Yes? Do you feel that? It's in our homes, it's in our communities, it's in our nation, it's in the world, it's everywhere. And we don't ever get an escape from it. It's a new thing every day. There's another person sending you mail saying, can you help with this? Or you get a text, or you get an email, or you see it on the news, right? It's everywhere. Compassion fatigue is real. The danger is we just say, ugh, can't do any of it. I'm done. We shut down. We disconnect. And that's the opposite of what we're called to be and do, isn't it? So the answer isn't bravado. It's not racing in and we'll do everything for everyone. It's abiding. We come back to that word again. Staying connected to God. The source of all goodness isn't us. The source of healing isn't us. If we just try to do it on our own, you could do good things, yes, but you will be tapped out quickly, yes? Huh? Instead, we want to try to bear the load. We would celebrate on purpose. As we have opportunity, he says, do good to all. Underline, circle, star, all. Especially to the household of faith, especially to the folks that are trying to do this, but do good to all. We don't pick and choose who we're going to do good to. Friends, this is a word that I think the world needs to hear. We are not as divided as we would be led to believe. We are not as separated as some would like us to be. I look at this congregation and I see the differences among us. And I know if we can figure it out, we could be an example for our neighbors. We could be an example for this community. We could be an example for the world. Where young and old could come together. Straight and gay could come together. Republicans and Democrats could come together. Yes, even that. Right? All means all. Again, great on a mug, great on a t-shirt, makes a fun bumper sticker. Hard to live out. Hard to practice. Because some people are just hard to love. Right? Let's be honest. Some people are hard to love. Love them anyway. Nobody said this was easy. Jesus died on a cross. Is it any harder than that? That's our example. That's what we're called into. John Wesley was a little softer. He said, let's just do this. There's 3 rules that I want my people to live by, the Methodists. Do no harm. Let's just start there. Don't hurt people. Do no harm. Follows it up with do good. So one thing is kind of a prohibition. Don't do stuff that's going to hurt. But take the next step and do good. Share goodness in the world. And then he finally ends it, says the only way you're going to be able to keep doing that is if you use the means of grace. Attend the ordinances of God. That's how he says it. You've also heard it translated, stay in love with God. In other words, back to this idea about abiding. We are not meant to be the ones that carry it all on our own. We are not meant to be the ones that totally, right? It's not out of our power or energy. We've got to stay connected to Jesus. It's only through Jesus that we're able to do this work, who empowers us and strengthens us and helps us and binds us together and draws us together and shows us when we can help and how we can help. Again, not just those who are like us or who we like, not just who does it to us first, not just when it's convenient, not just when we get something in return. Do good to all, remembering all means all. And this may seem idealistic. Friends, I think the following Jesus is idealistic. It's the highest ideal, isn't it? But we can ground it in some real practice. We've got our eye on this kind of utopian vision, right? We know where we're headed. We know where we want to be, an oasis. But how are we going to get there? Let's take some practical steps. Might do this, check in without trying to check up. I'm thinking of you today. How can I help you with what you're going through today, right? You're just checking in. It's relationship, right? Name a need you can meet. Be practical. We're going to bring dinner over to you on Thursday. I'm free from 3 to 5 to sit at the hospital. I've seen some of you do this. When folks have expressed needs, you've said, I'm available on this day at this time. Right? Help the way you can help. That's okay. You can't do it all the time. Name the need that you can meet. Maybe offer some choices, concrete. I could pick up your kids, or I could mow the lawn. Which would be more helpful? Right? Concrete, actionable. What do you really need that would be most helpful? Here's what I could do. Here's what I could offer. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This models the mutual piece that we're going to be in this together. I need a ride to that appointment. Or can you pray for my surgery coming up? My wife has been telling the disciples class and whoever else will listen, I got a surgery tomorrow. I've not put it on the prayer list. I've not spoken about it here at church. I don't know that I said much to the governance council about it. Why? I'm a man. And I've been told you suck it up and you just get through it. Friends, would you pray with me tomorrow? At 8:45, I'm checking in. I'm going to have my bicep dislocated and reconnected, and I think I'm going to be stronger. It's going to be like, I hope it balances, because otherwise I'm going to look really weird if I have like a, Hulk arm over here and like a skinny arm over there. I'll take it. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. That's what I'm trying to say. And then let's celebrate when things go well, and let's lament when things don't go well, when things are hard. Celebrate loudly, but let's lament softly. Most folks don't need you to show up and scream in their ear about how bad things are. Mostly when things aren't going well, we need somebody to come sit beside us and be with us and create a space. And sometimes that's quiet and silent. But when things are going well, woohoo! Let's party it up. Right? Let's remind people there is joy in this life. There is joy in this world. There is joy in being the kind of people we're called to be. With all of that, practice confidentiality. Trust really is the foundation of burden bearing. If for folks to be honest about what they need and what they're going through, they need to know that they could trust you with that information. And I think we also have an opportunity here to remember the caregivers, that we would provide care for those who care for others. I've seen this, I think through the pandemic in particular, we saw a lot of folks and the health professions in particular who were just on the front lines for a long time, experiencing death on a day-to-day basis. And while we're not in that kind of a crisis at this moment, there are still folks that are on those front lines, right? And whether it's caring for a spouse who's dying or caring for a child with a debilitating illness or it's just struggling through mental health things. It's new parents, right? Caring for others can be exhausting and draining. Let's care for the caregivers. That's another thing we could do. That's a practical thing we could do. And when it's hard, let's be honest that there's going to be hard times. Let's just name our capacity. You're finite. You can't do it all. Be okay with that. Remember, though, that Jesus is not finite. So let's share the ministry. We get to share and widen the circle. I said this, I think, a week or so ago, that we expand the network of care. You might not be able to help, but you might help connect somebody else who could help, right? Let's remember that some of these things are just complex and beyond us. I said at the beginning of this series, I am not a therapist. I'm not licensed to provide you with psychological care. Some burdens require skilled help, specialized folks. That's okay. Sometimes love can look like helping somebody make the call or get to the appointment or find that resource. That's why we put out resources, right? And then just being consistent. We're really good at a crisis. We're not so good at the long haul. It can help for a little bit, but then what happens with months down the road? So just be consistent, right? Pace yourself. Let's put it on the calendar. Let's show up. I'm going to talk about this in a couple weeks, but I just officiated a funeral for one of my teachers a couple weeks ago. And I've been thinking about the process of grief. Stephanie's going to talk about this with us next week, but there's not a timeline for that, right? And what often happens when somebody dies, many of you already know this, there's a lot of activity, right, when that happens, that moment, where there's a lot of plans that have to be made, a lot of things that take place. But a month down the road, when everybody's gone home and now the house is quiet and all the life for everybody else has gone back to normal, that person is left to figure out what's next. So I've been thinking about Tom, the husband of the woman who died, and I've been thinking I need to give him a call in a week or so just to say, hey, it's been about a month. How are you doing? And remember the anniversary of that death and give him a call and say, hey, how are you doing? And we can do that for each other, right? We've got people in our lives like that. They're going to experience a loss. They're going to be going through some difficulty. There's something that's going to happen. We're going to show up in the moment, but how can we also show up over time? It's going to be hard, but how do we do it over time? And as we become those kind of people, as we become this oasis that I'm talking about, just imagine that. Can you imagine? Imagine a church where our highest highs are celebrated together and our lowest lows are carried together. When something really exciting happened in your life, could you imagine the first people you thought to tell about that were these people? Could you imagine if the wheels fell off tomorrow, these would be the people you'd call in the middle of the night? Can you imagine a place like that, to be a people like that? Some of you have that, but I know many of us don't. I think it's what we can be, or what we could be more of. I saw it vividly when we brought our daughter home from the hospital. I know what it can look like. We had already received a lot of help, a lot of resources before she was born. But when we brought her home as new parents, I'm going to be honest with you, we were clueless, right? And it was the folks who showed up with the ready to the heat and eat casseroles, right? Some of the stuff was gross, but it was sustenance that we did not have to figure out, right? What does it look like? I've seen it. I saw all the notes and the cards and the calls. The hard was less hard because of our community of friends and family. And the wonderful was more wonderful because the others got to celebrate with us. I think Jesus often arrives wearing the face of family and friends, carrying casseroles, showing up with a phone call or popping up on our calendar. The church, us, is how God continues to show up, how God continues to share grace. Do you want to be that? Do you want to keep being that? That's what I'm really asking. I think that's what Paul is talking about here to the Galatians. Homework for you. Par, bring it up. Bring it home. As you're thinking about all of this today, maybe think about one name, one person that comes to your mind. Someone whose burdens feel heavy, just from your experience of what you know about what's going on in them. Or someone who's experiencing great joy that you might be able to celebrate with. Just think about a name. And then pray, God, what does doing good look like right now for that person? How could I help carry their burden, celebrate their joy? And then act on that prayer. Reach out, text or call or show up, knock on the door. My parents were the kind of folks that just drove around and went to people's houses. They never called beforehand, which was awkward sometimes. So maybe call before you go, but however you go, go. Offer a specific help or ask, how can you help? Or ask for help if that's what's going on. And put that concrete thing on your calendar. Make the plan, right? So you're taking this prayer and now you're going to act on it. And then the piece that I think we often miss is to reflect on, what did that do in you and through you? So reflect. What did carrying or being carried stir in you? Relief, joy? Did you feel resistance to that? Were you confused? What seed are you sowing? That's what you want to reflect on. Is it leading to life or not life? Let's pray. God, I hope that there is someone here today that heard these words from a letter to a church centuries ago. And in hearing those words, found a connection, a way to better understand your love and this life that you're inviting us into. I pray that something that I have said may have planted a seed. Or perhaps God has watered the seed that's already been planted. Help us indeed to reap what we sow. Let us sow in love. In the name of Christ I pray. Amen.